only got 2 hours of sleep last night, so I apologize if you see me yawning. I'll try to edit it out. We have Miss Scarlet with us. None too thrilled right now. She's also got a new fluffy squirrel friend, and it squeaks, so you might be hearing that in the future. Just letting you know. So I'm not gonna go into this whole spiel about where I've been, even though after I said I was gonna be back, I wasn't. The important thing is I'm here now. We're gonna do something a little different for this video. I have been for a long time now also wanting to kind of do slightly different videos where we talk about like world events and geopolitics and stuff, because that is one of my favorite things in life, is to stay up on all of that stuff. There's so much happening. There are elections taking place all over. We have a contested election in Georgia happening right now, and not in the state of Georgia, but the country Georgia. And of course we have all of the craziness happening over here in the States, as we normally do. There's a lot of stuff happening in Africa. I feel like Africa is like the continent that everybody just kind of forgets about. I know of some stuff that's going on there. It just seems like it's just always going on. And then of course Asia. It's really felt like we were on the precipice of World War III. We might still be, I don't know. I feel a little bit better now that that's not gonna happen, but never say never. Hopefully though things can de-escalate. I do see some signs of that happening. You know, here's the thing is like all of this stuff is so freaking complicated around the world. There may not just be one single way to solve these issues, but so that's why like having discussions and talking about it is kind of interesting. So what I wanted to focus on for this video, if you're still around, oh, we have Roger. Say hey, Roger. He doesn't have a hat on right now because I didn't know. I mean, this video, I wasn't sure exactly where we're going to go with it. He will have hats. He's got some new hats. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a lot of stuff happening in Syria right now. And that's kind of like the big story the past couple of days, especially with the rebel forces. Here's the thing, nobody really understands what's going on in Syria. Like there's some like vague idea of what's happening, but I feel like even the experts don't even know what's happening. So the latest tweet that I saw about this was that the US is now conducting airstrikes over the last hour against Iranian and Iranian-backed sites near the town of Al-Mayadin in eastern Syria. They are using the A-10, the Warthog, which is a really cool airplane for close air support. They've targeted communication centers, barracks, other military sites. Significant casualties are being reported, with ambulances and emergency vehicles being are heading to the strike locations. The Russians have been doing some airstrikes recently too. From what I gather, they haven't been super accurate. I hope the US strikes are a little bit better, a little bit more accurate. This is interesting though, because I've been wondering for a while now, like when the US was going to get involved in this, because I was super confused. I don't really know much about the situation in Syria, other than I know the US is there supposedly to fight off ISIS, which I feel like they did, you know. I'm not sure why we're still there, but Russia is there supposedly also to fight off ISIS. We kind of were doing the same thing, but kind of like with different factions. But others are saying obviously that Russia wants access to the Mediterranean, and they have another couple of other interests there. I saw this graphic and I thought it was perfect. The Syrian conflict simply explained. And I mean, can you get any better than this? I'm just gonna zoom in like this. I don't even know if I can make any sense of this. I don't know. I probably shouldn't even try. I bet you all of these arrows were just kind of like randomly drawn. Probably don't actually make sense, but this one does, with Israel and the US connected here, and the US is supporting the Gulf Cooperation Council. I have no idea what that is, which is supporting ISIS? No, other Islamic groups. Iran is connected to ISIS. Russia is, I don't know what the green and the red are supposed to be. Like, is the green supposed to be like the good guys? That just makes it more confusing. So I do know Turkey's involved. I think they want to take out Assad. I think Turkey wants to take over Syria, maybe. And so they're like backing all of these guys. The HTS, I guess, that's supposed to be like an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. These guys like left Al-Qaeda or something. They wanted to do their own thing, I guess. I don't know anything about them other than Turkey is supporting them. Iran and Russia are supporting Assad, who I think has fled to Moscow. At least there were reports a couple of days ago that he had gone to Moscow. And if I were him, I would have done that too. I mean, the last place he needs to be right now is in Syria. I just saw like they had already gotten into one of his presidential palaces, I think in Aleppo. So how you can just like go into a president's house, just wander around freely, but it's Syria, I guess. All right, so Russia and Iran are propping up Assad. Iran's got its own militias though, which are the ones that we are bombing right now. The US, oh gosh, Hezbollah. Assad backs Hezbollah and ISIS. Why is there a line connecting? Assad does not like Israel, I don't think, right? Oh my gosh. Just look at how many players there are in Syria right now. This is ridiculous. Like, what happened? What is with Syria? Like, I don't know of another country right now where this is like there's this many countries with interests in one country. And it's not even that big of a country, right? Syria's fairly smallish, right? Let's see. Syria. All right, so we're gonna look at this map right here of Syria. I'm gonna zoom out maybe. Syria's about the size of looks roughly the size of like Hungary or something, you know, or maybe like the whole of Ireland and Northern Ireland. I don't really have any context for how big that is, so if you gave me a state, it looks like maybe the size of Ohio. It's about the same size as Washington. Never been to Washington though, but I kind of have a rough idea of how big that is. Syria is about 52 times smaller. Oh, here we go. We're not gonna give me the state outlines. I don't know how to read this exactly. Washington's like right there, so yeah, it's roughly the size of Washington, a little bigger than Ohio, maybe quarter or fifth the size of Texas. Oh, this is one of those maps where you get bigger or smaller depending on where you are, which I like. Those maps are interesting because they give you the true scale of things. Looking at you, Russia. You guys know about this site, Live UA map? It kind of gives you up to date. Look at all of this. I went in and I asked Chat GPT, like, why is the US not getting involved? Because everybody else is, right? I have a question about the conflict in Syria happening now. What are the US troops doing? Are they in danger from the rebel forces? I have no clue where the US bases are. I just know that we have some there. And with all of this craziness going on, I was like, why are we not hearing anything about the US? Like, is this stuff like anywhere close to them? Are we gonna have to start going to war with these people? Are we gonna have to start doing what Russia's doing and having to like defend our base and whatever base we're at in there? I was kind of like surprised to know that we only have 900 troops there, which is tiny. It's a minuscule amount. So I'm not even sure like what that accomplishes, but okay. Right, so we're there to fight off ISIS, and we are partnering with the Syrian Democratic Forces, which are anti-Assad. Russia's allied with a different, maybe the SAA, the Syrian Arab Army or something like that. And then there are the Kurds that I keep seeing, and I know Assad doesn't like the Kurds. I know Turkey doesn't like the Kurds. I think it's just like a different faction of Islam or something, and that's why they don't like each other. I really know nothing about this. It's just like it's insane. But all it did was like tell me what's going on, which I already knew, so that the US isn't in direct conflict. And then I had to be more specific. I was like, well, why are the Russians, you know, like having to withdraw from bases and being taken over by HTS, which they have been routed? And why is it not happening with the US base? Basically, the short answer is US bases are on the other side of the country. Okay, we have 4 or 5 different colors. So that means there are 5 different factions here that control different territories. Obviously, this is where everything's going down. Where's Damascus? It's hard to see where the cities are on here. All right, so here we go. We have purple. This might be blue, so we might have 6. Blue, red, green. Oh, we have another green. 7. Jeez. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Oh, we might have 7 different areas where people have taken territory. Why these are like gray in the middle here, I don't know. Like, how did this happen? But let's look at the key, because let's figure out what this is. Right here you can see the key. So we have the pro-Assad forces, the Syrian army, NDF, Russia, IRGC from Iran, Hezbollah, Shia groups from Iraq. Oh my gosh. All right, so these are the pro side. These are red is pro side. Wonder what these gray areas, non-aligned or international organizations or nature. Okay, so it's just kind of neutral areas. The yellow is the Kurds. Oh, okay, so SDF is the Kurds then. The Kurds are these groups right here. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which colors are which. Can you click on them? And the only purple on this is freaking China. Please tell me China's not in controlling part of Syria too. Let's just get everybody involved and let's start World War III in Syria. How about that? Although I hear this happens a lot over there. I just don't know. I mean, this apparently has gone a little bit further than it usually does. I don't really know how to take this right now, but it just seems like a big deal, you know? We have green. We have two different greens. We have a dark and a light. Rebel forces, the FSA, Ashir al-Sham, other moderate groups. That would be these guys up here in the lighter green. The darker green is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham x al-Nusra. Means absolutely nothing to me. I have no idea. All these poor Kurds right here, just like in the middle of everything, they look stuck. I really hope this isn't China. Like, what in the world would China be doing? Let me zoom out slightly. So down here we've also got the light green, which is the rebel forces. So they're not just in, see, I thought the rebel forces were just up here in the northeast. Or northwest, sorry. And then we have blue over here, which is the Golan Heights, controlled by Israel, I guess. Of course, it's in Hebrew. I don't know how to read that, but it's in Hebrew, so it'd be Israel. The good thing about this is you can click it on these things. So this is probably U.S. airstrike. 1:07 a.m. A third raid with a machine gun salvo from the aircraft targets a site of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. The aircraft is still in the sky. Well, these are the guys that we've been bombing all this time anyway. These are the ones that constantly attack the US bases, or the bases. They're not really US bases. I think we're just chilling there. The Iran foreign minister is there now to talk to, well, he may have gone to Turkey, or is he in Syria? He'd be crazy to go into Syria. All right, I'm assuming all of these flags are areas where they've taken, like the HTS. Yeah, rebels have captured a radar, so basically these are the areas where they've captured stuff. All right, what's going on here? 3 airstrikes believed to be by the International Coalition target. I think this is probably the smuggling area where they try to get weapons in. Thousands of these names. Hashed Shabi fighters from Iraq are flowing through the border 4 hours ago at Bukamal to reinforce the SAA, which I think is the Russian side, right? Guys, this is nuts. We got people from Iraq going in, and of course, I know this is like kind of like normal for this part of the world, but I feel like this is a little mini World War happening right here. World War III, the warm-up or something. Like, this is, we've got Iraqi fighters coming in. We have the Turkish military carrying out artillery strikes on the SDF. I love how they just say warplanes have launched airstrikes, not telling us whose warplanes. Russian warplanes carrying out raids. International coalition. So they're calling the US airstrikes an international coalition. So I wonder who else is flying with them. Perhaps the UK? The Royal Air Force? Just from kind of like the American perspective and probably the UK perspective, whatever troops over there with US, I think it's UK. It could be some other countries too, but it's going to be a very small number, right? The main thing is all of the actions happening over here. Why it's happening over here and nowhere else, I don't know. From what I gather, there is a history of these rebel forces trying to take territory in this general vicinity. Thank God the US is on the other side of the country from all of this. However, if the goal of all of this is to topple Assad and take Syria, eventually the US troops are gonna have to face it. 900 troops is probably not sufficient, although the US has all kinds of like tech and stuff. They could probably take out these guys without breaking a sweat. I don't know. Like, I don't know the situation. What we didn't look at down here is all of this happening. This is on the Jordan border. We have Syrian opposition, the rebel forces, I guess. They stormed the town's district to control the site. Okay, well, that's great. So they're working in the south now. So Assad is bombing these people down here because they gave him some trouble, apparently, at a checkpoint. Iranian foreign minister arrives in Damascus. So this, oh yeah, this is where Damascus is. So I didn't see that until now. I didn't realize realize Damascus was all the way down here. For some reason, I thought it was up in this area. So what is it about this area up here that they're so concentrated on? You guys think that this stuff is going to spill over into the rest of Syria? Oh yeah, this is HTS breaching. This is them going into Assad's presidential palace, apparently in Aleppo. Oh, everybody in the comments keeps saying that they're in Damascus. This is in Damascus, but according to that map, this is definitely in Aleppo. This is not in Damascus. They wouldn't be down there. Too far. It seems like really depressing to me. I wouldn't want to live here. Here are all of the groups involved in Syria right now. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm not even going to read that. You guys can see it. Holy cow. That's more than I thought. What is wrong with Syria? What is the deal? Why Syria? Of all places in the Middle East, why is it Syria that is dealing with this? There's got to be something in the history of it, right? If there is, let me know. Are they eating at McDonald's here? What is this? Following his meeting with Assad, Iranian foreign minister, I don't know how to say that, Arakchi, arranged to be videotaped, recorded, and enjoyed a meal at a local restaurant. This is the Syrian version of McDonald's, apparently. That's what it looks like. This looks really awkward, though. I don't kind of like this decor on the counter, though. That's nice. This is the foreign ministers. They're not like security or anything, and they're here. Why did they choose this place? Okay. Meanwhile, on the Ukrainian front, Rob Lee is kind of partnering with Michael Kaufman, who they do a podcast on Ukraine stuff, and I've been kind of keeping up with that. They've been on the front lines over there, you know, checking out what the whole situation is, and then they kind of come back here to the US and report back on it. Rob's here saying more Ukrainian soldiers have deserted in the first 10 months of this year than the previous 2 years of the war. And I do know Ukraine for a while now has been having manpower issues, which is their primary issue. Like they could use more equipment and weapons and stuff, but that doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you don't have the people to operate them. So we've got some Ukrainians abandoning their positions, and this is not because they're cowards, but you know, Patrick is saying here that some of them have been on the front line for 3 years with no rotation, which is insane. Like, they have to be to the point of complete exhaustion at this point, and not even just physically, but mentally as well. You know, he says no time to rest, refit, and retrain, no time to integrate replacements, no time to conduct maintenance of weapons and equipment. Yeah, this is a huge problem for Ukraine right now, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, when this war first started, I was all for Ukraine taking on Russia, because when the war first started, I thought Russia was gonna roll over Ukraine, because for all of these decades, you know, we've been hyping up Russia as like, you know, this big bad military that's, you know, can just like run over you basically, especially against a country like Ukraine. And so I thought, you know, Russia would take Ukraine fairly quickly. I mean, not within 3 days, but within a few weeks maybe. And then of course we all saw that that didn't happen. You know, the thing is, Russia is just a bigger country, more people, bigger wartime economy. Russia's not doing great either. I mean, let's be honest. I'm on Ukraine's side with this. Obviously, I'm on NATO's side, Ukraine's side. I don't want Russia to win the war, but it's been pretty apparent to me over the last year and a half or so, especially keeping up with things with like Rob and Michael Kaufman. Ukraine just, I don't think they have a chance of getting, you know, winning this and getting what they want out of it without direct NATO intervention. They either need to start recruiting their or conscripting their young, like 18 to 22 year olds, which they haven't refused to do up to this point. Unlike the West, where we conscript 18-year-olds, Ukraine does it backwards. They start with the old guys and work their way down to the young to preserve their population and stuff. The guys that really need to be on the front lines right now are not, and they're avoiding it, and so that's an issue. There's just so much, there are multiple factors involved, and honestly, Ukraine's not going to get out of this without direct NATO intervention, like, or just a Western military intervening directly with boots on the ground. I want Ukraine to win, but also you have to balance that against, is it worth risking a World War III over, you know, a bit of territory in Ukraine. I think Zelensky is starting to come to that realization too. And so he's talking now that he might be willing to concede land for a NATO bid, which I don't think Putin is gonna agree to. So we'll see what happens when Trump gets in. The current administration hasn't really gotten anywhere with it, honestly. It kind of bothers me that they haven't even been keeping an open line of communication with Putin. You know, if you think back to the Cold War, the US and Russia, we were enemies, but we also talked, you know, and we kept the communication lines open, and we're willing to compromise on some things in order to prevent, you know, war from happening. While you don't want to capitulate to your enemy, sometimes if they are formidable enough, you have to at least respect them, you know. That's what we did in the Cold War. You know, the US and Russia respected each other's capabilities. Is the US military way more capable than Russia's? I think so. We don't want to go into Ukraine to find out. Like, I just don't think the US is at that point right now. I don't think most of the rest of the world is at that point. Some people really want that to happen, but I think let's give the diplomacy a chance and let's just see what happens. I personally don't compare this to World War II and Hitler like most people do. This is a different situation, way different circumstances. Just because Hitler did what he did doesn't mean that Putin's going to do the same thing. So I just don't buy that, you know, right now. I mean, if Russia's having a hard time like this in Ukraine, there's no way they even want to attempt to invade a NATO country. That's not going to end well for them. You know, my thing is World War II, when that kicked off, nukes weren't a thing. So I'm not like super terrified that nuclear war is going to happen. What nukes do is they are a deterrent. It is a non-zero chance that they could be used. I mean, the US has used them before. Like, we've actually used nukes before. So all the people claiming that that would never happen, you know, because of mutual assured destruction and all of that stuff, I don't know. We've never been in this spot before. This is unprecedented territory, and everybody who thinks they know what's going to happen, they don't. I don't even know what's going to happen. I do think Putin will refrain from using nukes as much as he possibly can if NATO starts invading Russia. You know, if the US was in his position and we had Russian troops on our border and they started to walk into the US, we wouldn't have to nuke them, but Russia would, because they can't, their conventional forces can't handle it. So at least that's the way it appears. A joint statement from the US, UK, Germany, France on Syria via the US State Department, which I guess those might be the countries that have troops in Syria with us. Closely monitoring the developments. I hope so. They urge de-escalation by all parties, of course. This is so stupid. This is not going to happen. By all parties, and the protection of civilians and infrastructure to prevent further displacement and disruption of humanitarian access. The current escalation only underscores the urgent need for a Syrian-led political solution. Okay, well, this is completely unrealistic. They're not going to de-escalate. Nobody has control of the situation to de-escalate. A Syrian-led political solution. Assad's not even in the country right now. It looks like his regime might be on its way out if these guys aren't stopped. And there's 20 groups involved in this right now. 20. So you're going to get all of those 20 groups to de-escalate and come together for the humanitarian access, and they're just going to step aside and let the Assad regime, Syria, whatever, find the solution to this. Okay. I mean, obviously this is just a statement they had to put out. I don't think they believe it. This is going to do absolutely nothing. So it's just an official position, which is de-escalation. Apparently on all fronts, the US is all about de-escalation now, except for when it comes to Ukraine. Then it was for a while, then we kind of like just threw that out the window. So all right, guys, I think that's it. I would be interested to hear from all of you. I know this is a different type of video. It's not a reaction video. Like I said, those will be coming, so you know, stay tuned for that. I had to get this out of my system. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I didn't know exactly how to approach it. I hope this also shows that all of the reactions that I did in the past to history, military, and stuff weren't just, you know, for the views or whatever. I really pretty passionate about this stuff. So anyway, we do have a lot more videos coming up regarding military stuff, history stuff, and some fun, you know, stuff in there too. And we'll be keeping an eye on you know, current events. And I'm not going to be doing these videos all the time, but we'll see. I'm thinking about getting a Christmas tree. It's December 1st. I'm thinking about getting a Christmas tree for this corner over here. If you think I should do that, leave a little the Christmas emoji, the Christmas tree emoji, down in the comments if you think that's a good idea. But also in the comments, let me know, what do you guys think about Syria? What's going on? Tell me what's going on. If you know what's going on in Syria, you know why this is happening, you know the history of it, let me know. Do you think the Western militaries are gonna have to get involved in this? How is this connected to the broader conflicts we're seeing? But let me know your thoughts. Leave a Christmas tree down there. Appreciate it. I'll read through all your comments. I like to pick comments to kind of read out on the follow-up videos. So leave a good one. You might show up in my next video. Thanks for joining us. Roger says goodbye. Scarlett says goodbye. She's patiently waiting for her dinner. I'll see you guys later.